Hey, guys. This is Multiversal Archivist. And who do I have with me?
I'm David, of course,
You sure you're not the doctor?
the guest of honor.
What would
I'm
be
the 12th.
your.
I'm the 12th David who's going to regenerate into the 13th David momentarily.
what would be your Doctor Who name?
Ooh, that's tough. I'm going to go with the the filmmaker because I directed a short recently. See, I'm already plugging myself five
Yeah.
seconds in.
It's
That
kind of
would be
like when
my
you
Tommy
ask.
Oliver.
It's kind of like when you ask people what their ring would be, like their Green
Yeah,
Lantern ring, and you get what, and there's two answers. There's what they say they would be, and then what they would actually be.
yeah. My real one would probably be like the Popeyes chicken eater. My Time Lord name.
I think mine's. I feel like the archivist because obviously that's the channel. But if
Yeah,
I
I
was
feel
gonna
like that's
actually give myself a name, it would probably be like, hmm, maybe I don't know, the anarchist, just because it
the
sounds cool.
anarchist would be kind of cool, and I would be the centrist because I'm all about that moderation and telling people that both sides are bad. No, I'm kidding. Just
Well, that's anarchy too, but it's just a different form of anarchy.
yeah,
But
anarchy is like they both suck. Let's do something about it,
yeah.
which is maybe a little more forward thinking instead of just they both suck. So the answer is let me make both of them happy, which sucks.
Yeah,
Anyway,
no.
enough of my our radical political talk.
Yeah, if in case you didn't know, we are gonna be filming. We're gonna be watching a Doctor Who, but not just any Doctor Who. David, tell the people what are we watching?
We're going right back to the beginning.
The beginning.
And it's sort of touched on in your boom commentary. Doctor Who's been a cornerstone of our friendship for a while. It's how we started to bond, and among other stuff like Supernatural, Sons of Anarchy, Battlestar Galactica, which has stayed, the gold standard.
Always the gold standard.
Um,
Now, not that I will derail things, but you missed something in your groupings,
which one did I leave
and it's
out?
actually the very first thing we ever talked about. Little old, little old back. Let me take you back, chat, to
Is can I
2000
guess?
and
Can I guess what I missed?
guess what'd you miss?
Was it Death Note?
Yes, it was Death Note.
Yeah.
So
And Invader Zim. I'm sorry. Yeah. Like
back in what? This was 2010 or even 2009, because we
might have been.
we knew
I
each
think it
other
was.
before we
I think it was
graduated.
08, 09 because it would have been like sophomore year of high school. So yes, 07, 08.
But back in the day, our school library had this like section of there was the place where you checked out books at. And then there was an area to the right where they had more books. There's also a bunch of computers there as well. And I was sitting back there reading something, and I happened to catch a lanky ass mofo that was holding an old manga. I was like, "What is that manga?" And I was like, "What's that manga?" And then I was like, "Oh, it's Death Note." And then this mofo spent a total of 15 minutes talking to me about Death Note and how awesome it was.
Oh yeah,
And the
really
rest
selling you
is,
on Death Note, pitching you on Death
yep,
Note.
pitched me hard on Death Note.
Like I'm selling you a timeshare, but it's Death
Yep.
Note.
And then that was how it all started. After that, I was like, I gotta check this out. I checked it out, loved it. Now that would be a good commentary too, something from Death Note, maybe
Yeah,
even the live action.
well, because there's been a lot. Because there was the two Japanese live action movies, and then there was an spin-off movie,
Oh, or
and
even the
then
L
in
spin-off
Japan,
movie.
yeah, from the director of the original Ring, which is kind of crazy. Um, and then there was a 13 episode Japanese live action TV show which I haven't watched, and now this Netflix one,
I
this
think you and I
American
have
one.
both watched the Death Note movie though, the live action movie.
Yeah, the Netflix one, which I found a little wanting, but had some moments. Had its,
But we're not talking about Death Note,
no, no,
even
no.
though it's
Death Note
great.
is not what we're talking about. But either way, Death Note was our one of our key ones. but Doctor Who was a real big one as well.
Yep, because I will never. Because I can tell you a story. I can look. This is a true testament to bromance. I could tell you exactly the moment that I was introduced to Doctor Who. I don't remember why, but I came to visit. I came to visit you in a computer class. I remember it because one of the kids had a Alienware laptop, and I was like, man, I really want that laptop. But
Yeah.
I came to visit you from a different class, and you were like,
this was my journal. This was the school paper. Is
yeah,
what we
yeah,
were.
yeah. It was like a huge room, and I think it
Yeah.
must have been more towards the end of school because they were just letting us do whatever the heck we wanted.
Yeah, I feel like it was exam days kind of thing where
Yeah,
like there was a lot of like empty periods, thus you could head over.
and you were like, I
Um,
gotta show you this episode of this show, and I was like, well, what's the show? And you were like, Doctor Who. I was like,
mm,
okay, what's it about? And you told me what it was about. Madman in a box goes around the universe saving things, time and
yeah.
space. And then you showed me Blink, and that was the very first episode of Doctor Who I had ever watched. Was Blink. It's Blink, right? It's Blink, right? Isn't that the title of it?
Correct. The Weeping
Yeah.
Angels. That was the one, which I've since done to a couple of unsuspecting friends. You were kind of like the patient zero for me, being like, even if they don't end up getting into Doctor Who, I always have to show them Blink because I'm like, this is such an episode of television. Like whether you care about the show or not.
No, and it was really good, and that is probably. I mean, that and also just not Angels Take. What's the called the episode where Matt Smith fights the Angels, the first
Oh well,
time.
the Time of Angels.
Yeah, Time of Angels.
Yeah, from season 5, where it's him and Amy and River and the papal like soldiers
Yeah,
are first introduced.
that in Time of Angels has always cemented that the Weeping Angels are like my favorite Doctor Who villain.
Though also, yes, to your point, you were gonna say Angels Take Manhattan, which yeah is like the third one where we say bye to Amy and Rory.
Is really also a really good Angel episode.
Yeah, very good as well. I know there's a Jodie Whittaker Angel episode, which I kind of I
Wait,
gotta
there
get to.
is? Oh
There
man.
is one where she fights them, so I kind of have to. We got to get to it, sort of.
It's kind of. I know it's probably. I feel like. I would like every Doctor to fight an Angel at least once, even if it's just in
Yes.
a one-off episode, because I just think they are just a fascinating like problem for a Doctor to face, and I think you could get a different Doctor reaction each
Oh yeah.
time. Like I think there's enough there. Like Capaldi's experiences with an Angel would be different from like Whitaker's version of experience with an Angel, etc., etc.
I think so, very much so. Yeah, yeah, because David Tennant kind of like smugly outsmarts him, whereas Matt Smith like gets real pissed at him, which I
Yeah,
appreciate.
he just straight up doesn't like him. You know who would be? You know what would be a good Nakuti Angel episode? Doing like a
Yeah.
Venetian pleasure palace. So it's like
Ooh.
an orgy like hid you know what I'm trying to say, hedonistic
Yeah,
type
some kind of
party.
like a an eyes wide shut party, but
Yeah,
there's an
like
angel around.
like
That
an
would be kind
eyes
of
wide shut party, and it's in like this Venusian garden. So there's just statues everywhere, and the angels could be
yeah.
any of them, and it's like a murder mystery. Like you got to figure out who did it, which statue
I
is the
like.
angel.
Ooh, that's a good pitch. My pitch for an angel episode. Now we're just jumping right in. So anyone who's new to Doctor Who is like, I guess it's a show about angels.
Yeah, it's just a
Like
show.
Evangelion, they're fighting angels every week. My pitch was always a mob boss has captured a weeping angel and is kind of using it as a witness protection thing. Like people
Yeah, it's Looper, Looper,
can pay to
right?
get disappeared by the angel.
Yeah, yeah. You've
Um,
talked about this before. It's like Looper. Uh,
yeah, it would be like a looper situation, but of course the angel is probably like double crossing and actually like sending them to the sun or something, and he doesn't realize that, and then maybe it gets out. From there it writes itself. But that would be my weeping angel pitch.
Man, Doctor Who.
And also, sorry, any Who fans who are more hardcore, we are just upfront confessing that we did not get through all of the Chris Chibnall era. I gave it a real good try, and I still will return to it eventually.
Yeah, and
Um,
it's sad for me because like I was really into the idea of a female doctor, and I still think that that's a really good
yeah,
idea, and it's kind of sad that they'll probably never really hit that again because of just like how much people didn't like it and how unwell received it was.
I
Um,
have a feeling they'll try again. I hope anyway.
I
I
think
know
they will as well, but I don't think that's
there
gonna
were
happen.
there were
Any
obviously like chuds who were just mad at the very idea of a female doctor. But I feel like enough people were like, no, I don't mind a female doctor. I like Jodie Whittaker. The writing let her down. I feel like a different showrunner in the future, maybe if Neil Gaiman ever takes over full time, which is a bit of a like that's a never gonna happen. That's like my pipe dream for a Doctor Who
I'm
show.
curious if they'll go back to Moffat. Like, what's he doing right now? Like, the time
He
traveler's wife didn't. Obviously, that was a disaster. I don't know
he
if
had a
he's.
he had a mini series with David Tennant, which was like a kind of like spy psychological thriller that's supposed to be pretty good. And on his IMDb, his next one is something called like Jeff Gets Cancelled, which is a sitcom about a dude getting canceled. And I'm kind of like, oh boy, I don't
Yeah,
know about
see?
that.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised because they went back to Russell T. Davies, and I could
Maybe
see
they'll just.
them just being like, hey, Moffat, just come back and do it because it's got to
It's
be
kind
really
of a
hard to find a showrunner for Doctor Who.
yeah, who's capable of it? Because I know it's very tough to like deal with the BBC and stuff. Like only a handful of people can actually do the job right.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of a bummer. Or actually get to go back to politics, kind of the way that oh wow, it's re-election and we're back to Biden v. Trump. I'm a little bit like,
Well,
so is it
you
just gonna be Russell T Davies and Moffat forever?
Well, and
Like,
you are of the mindset that new doctor, new showrunner, as well, because you've talked about that before as well.
yes, I adored the recent Moffat ep. I made me realize just how much I missed him. But I am also team like get some new blood in there. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
who. Maybe Charlie Booker, the guy who made Black Mirror. He's British and he could do sci-fi. I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that's
I don't
an
know.
option.
It's a tough question.
But Doctor
Because I
Who
feel like
as a whole, I mean, to go back to like just talking about it from our friendship perspective, every like weekend it would be Doctor Who weekend for me and David.
yep,
I had an uncle who was always out of town on the weekends, and I would go over. We would basically go over to his house. The next like 2 days would just be Doctor Who, and that's just all we would watch. It's just
yep.
Doctor Who, and we burned through all of the. We got
It'd be
all
like
the
a
way.
season. It was like a season a weekend
Yeah, it was like a
essentially. Like
season a weekend because we would just straight up watch it,
we
and
would
that's
just
how
watch
we.
it for 12 hours, go to sleep, and then kind of just sleep for 4 hours, get up and finish the season. Was
Yep,
kind of our pattern.
and
Yeah.
we did that all the way up to Matt Smith, and then
Yep.
11th hour. Which so I'm upfront since we were being upfront about that. I'll be upfront about this. David Tennant is my least favorite Doctor. I'm not a. I actually have never really gone back to those episodes. I've even watched um, Christopher Eccleston episodes recently, but I've never gone back to David
Tenet
Tennant.
era.
Yeah, to the
Yeah.
Tennant
Even
era.
though Blink is a Tenet episode, even
Yeah,
though
even
he's
though
not.
Blink is a Tennant episode, and it did get me
He's
into
barely.
Doctor Who. But 11th Hour is what sold me on Doctor Who. That
Yeah.
is just because it's just it might even be the best season premiere of a thing in like all of time. I
Yeah.
can't
Like
think of another episode of
opener.
another
Yeah.
pilot, so to speak, that is kind of like bam, or another season opener has like just hit and like really been like, oh, I'm all in on this now.
Nah, for sure. Yeah. Though we'll see how this first episode handles it, because I maintain that this one is also one of the very best first episodes ever.
Yeah,
So
and you know
I'm
what?
excited about that.
I
Although
have
yeah,
never.
all that to say, like you've been through the Russell T Davies and the Moffat, but you've not dipped too much into classic era Doctor Who.
No, like the only classic, and I told you this story before, but the only classic episodes of Doctor Who I've really watched, and they weren't episodes, um, this is again back in 2011, 12 ish.
Yep.
I had a brief stint where I worked as a sign twirler for a tax company, but it was very specifically a tax it was, I want to say it was like Liberty Mutual, but it wasn't Liberty Mutual. But it was definitely a place that had Liberty in the line, because I used to have to dress as Lady Liberty and twirl a sign. And I used to do that for like 5 or 6 hours a day in the hot Florida sun. Um, but because I had a lot of time, because all I had to do was twirl a sign, I used to listen to Doctor Who not commentaries, Doctor Who audio episodes. Well, it would have been the seventh Doctor, right?
Eighth Doctor, his adventures.
Yeah, the eighth Doctor and his adventures. And it's funny, the only real episode I remember is there was one where he was at like a ski resort or something, and the snow was like eating people or something to that effect.
Fighting evil snow.
Yeah, fighting evil snow or something. But that's, and I actually really liked the eighth Doctor. He might have I think I even back then put him over David Tennant.
Yeah.
But
who had that really great around the time of the 50th episode. He had that little short, Night of the Doctor.
Yeah, where he transforms he regenerates into the War Doctor.
Yeah, where he crashes on the planet and turns into the War Doctor, which is very cool. That's like one of my favorite Doctor Who related things, and it's only like a 10-minute short.
What's your favorite? What's your favorite special of the old series? I know that's a weird question, but I'm curious.
Your old series, like episode or whatever. Let me think. That's very tough. It might be. I think it's going to be a third Doctor episode. And I think it's going to have to be, maybe Terror of the Autons or the Silurians are both very good.
Okay.
No, what am I talking about? My favorite classic series episode across all 25 years is the 7th Doctor story, Ghostlight. I really am a big fan of the latter half of Sylvester McCoy 7th Doctor era, because they get almost kind of a proto-Moffat, because it gets very like intellectual and dark and weird, and the stories have these like you kind of have to piece it together what happened. And I think of all of them, Ghostlight is a very cool one where he fights.
I might have to do Ghostlight then next.
It's like a haunted house thing, but he fights the embodiment of light itself as a villain.
Ooh, that does sound pretty interesting.
Some very cool stuff there. So if we ever get there, if we're gonna do every episode, which we are,
all 700, man.
We'll get there in 15 years, I think.
There's a really cool YouTube. I would plug him, but I don't remember his name. But there is a really cool YouTube who's done a retrospective of every Doctor, and I think the last time I checked, he had just got into Capaldi, but he does like an hour long. I've showed you this guy before. I don't remember his name, but he's fantastic work and just like a level of dedication to Doctor Who that I couldn't reach without making it my entire life.
Yeah. That would have to be our day job, I feel like, if we were gonna
exactly. But all right, so first episode of Doctor Who ever. It's on Amazon. Doesn't look like there are any ads or anything. So just be a straight watch. We're not gonna skip the intro or anything like that. I'm gonna count us down. So in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh man! So imagine you're like a kid in the UK in the early '60s. You're settling in for tea time.
You just took a bunch of acid and now this shit's on TV.
This, like eerie theme song comes out. One of the cooler parts of Day of the Doctor is they open with this version.
Yep.
And I think honestly, like I like the big epic versions, the new ones do, but I kind of like my Doctor Who theme a little eerie.
A little eerie and a little synthy, low synthy.
Which the Jodie Whittaker era did bring back a little bit, which was cool. And man, this policeman in the fog.
This sounds just like going to Disney World and going into Tomorrowland. That part of it has always sounded like that to me.
What do you call it? The middle 8, which is always the best part. The do 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 do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. All right, he's looking at this like scrapyard. Otter's Lane. Sorry, I'm not gonna be. I'm not gonna be
Which is
making.
where Clara was working at.
Yes, that's right. In the in her seasons, and in the recent Got We episode, he shouts it out from the rooftop where he's like, "That's where I used to live."
Yeah, I'm curious what all this dad Doctor Who is going to be about.
I think they're finally maybe because they've never, he has this granddaughter which we'll meet in this episode, but they've never really gotten into in the show itself like what his children,
Mm-hmm.
who they were really. So I'm curious. Maybe that's what we're finally gonna pull the trigger on. Meet the Doctor's like son or daughter or kid.
What happens to the granddaughter?
She like it's very funny. Her send off. They end up on like post-apocalyptic Earth fighting Daleks in her last episode, and she falls in love with a human there, and the Doctor's like, "You'll be happier there, bye." And it's kind of like you're just leaving your. I mean, I know she's in love with this dude, but you're leaving her in this post-apocalyptic wasteland. Like I feel like for a Time Lord, that would not be a great fate. But she seems okay with it.
But she's supposedly a Time Lord as well, right?
Yeah, that's what's kind of wacky. But I guess because it was like early years, we hadn't quite worked that out yet.
Mm-hmm.
Susan Foreman, where we're about to learn about her, and this is Ian and Barbara, the first companions. Uh, I really like Barbara. She's rad. Ian, unfortunately, is a man from the '60s, so he tends to
Yeah, so
like,
he's not rat.
yeah, he tends to get into fistfights and condescend to women a lot, which is not great. But Barbara, I'm quite fond of. On the if I'm ranking companions. I remember the second dude companion of the first Doctor, Stephen. I like quite a bit. He's a
Oh,
little
really?
less he's less of a chauvinist, I feel. But we'll
Hmm.
get to him later. He's Totter's Lane. Yeah, see, he's already like, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Some gal is yammering on about something.
Mm-hmm.
Just getting too worried about nothing.
This girl's really interested in her student. If I
Yeah,
was the
because
teacher, I'd just be like, well, okay,
yeah, whatever.
whatever.
I'm just gonna, give you an F and move on.
Yeah.
But no, this was a. They're a bit nicer as teachers. They're like, oh, maybe we should try to help kids, but you would be like, nah, man.
Nope. Yeah, I wouldn't have the time. Wouldn't There's not enough time.
Nope. As soon as it's 5 p.m., it's like, sorry, ladies, sorry, little girl. See
Yep.
you in the a.m.
See you in the
not
AM.
not my problem. Well, can finish a book in a night.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy that Doctor Who has never revisited this character and just regenerated her. You know?
Yeah, it seems like something you would want to do sooner or later. And the actress is actually, I was reading, still alive. Like she's in her 80s, so I
Yeah.
don't know. She could meet 15 and Ruby in an episode.
Yep. No, I mean on it, and then it's not like that's that book cover is so funny.
Just the French Revolution.
French Revolution.
Yeah, okay, so you know what? I was laughing at you for being a negligent teacher. Uh, but I don't think I fully approve of this either.
See, this is weird. It's
Driving to the
weird.
student's house and like staking it out. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
That might not uh come across too well to modernize, I feel. I guess like the step would be like get child protective services involved. So maybe they just don't want to, you know, get her uh taken to be a ward of a state. They're like, let's investigate ourselves first before we. I suppose she could be a foreigner. It's kind of wacky that a Time Lord would ever want to be like, let's enroll you in school
Yeah.
and just have you.
Yeah. No, it's
But I guess if you live hundreds of years, you're like, you know,
well, I mean, now we've
just commit
got
to the.
David Tennant just chilling chilling at a in a backyard garden
Yeah, I
with
guess I
with
guess
a
that
TARDIS and just having a fun time of it. So
I guess there is precedent for that uh that ending of that the ending of the David Tennant Doctor, because I guess he's done it before. He's just sat around in one place for a little bit,
hmm
as we see here.
once again, Moffat knows the Doctor better in that regard because I think the Cube episode is the better showcase of what the Doctor would be like in that situation.
Yes, when he's just totally bored,
hmm
living the domestic life. Even in the Van Gogh episode, when he's like bored when Van Gogh is painting and is like, "Is this how time usually works? Like slow and in the right order?" You know. Uh, I mean, they're kind of cute as a duo, Ian and
Eh,
Barbara. Like,
yeah.
he's kind of a jerk on occasion, but like they they're all right. I'm being too hard on them. Now we're doing the Scooby Doo thing. Weirdly, Doctor Who has done like mystery episodes and haunted houses and stuff,
hmm
but it's usually not like this, like
No.
investigating with a flashlight kind of
hmm
antics, which is kind of interesting because you think it kind of fits the format of the show, but
Yeah.
it almost never has this
Well, this is
tone.
before Sonic Screwdriver and stuff as well, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We don't have a sonic screwdriver yet. I believe that's a second Doctor edition when he gets his sonic screwdriver. Yeah, I feel like even if I mean, I feel like we can't do every episode because we'll be 50-year-olds and still on the first Doctor. Um, but We should definitely do some highlights because the first Doctor is where the first time we meet like another Time Lord, and there's the whole idea of there even being another TARDIS.
Oh,
Like that
really?
shows up.
Who
Yeah, like
does his first Doctor meet fight the Maestro?
he fights the monk is the first Time Lord bad
Hmm.
guy, and he's not even a villain. He's more he's a bit more of a Mixes Spitlick a bit. Like he's kind of like selfish and likes to interfere in time, but he's not like a straight bad guy like the Master we get later.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, third Doctor is where we meet the Master. He's twirling a mustache and all that. Oh, here's their boy. Man. Hmm? That's the first Doctor's catchphrases. Hmm?
Hmm.
He does that a whole lot. He's really good right away though.
Yeah, no, he is really good.
Yeah, yeah. He's like toying with him.
I like the dude they also used for him in the
Yeah,
newer Who's
Filch.
as
When
well.
Filch plays him in
Yeah.
the Capaldi episode. He is playing some head games. He's like, no, no, I
Hmm.
know you're hearing, I know you're hearing her right now, but you're not.
I like his little cloak thing he's got going on too.
Yeah, his outfit's pretty great. Mm, what?
Whoa. Do they get the? Do they do the infamous?
Yeah, man. Like any companion, you gotta. Oh, I guess she like insisted on them staying for a longer time than usual. Well, but it was just a telephone box. on. See, it's just like TV.
Television is a very weird way of trying to
Yeah.
symbolize, but
Just like how I guess that's yeah, it's a not the most helpful comparison. It's like, oh, yes,
no.
well, I mean, a picture can be small. You can draw a tiny man, so it makes sense. Artists. See, she made up the name TARDIS.
Yeah, I don't think that's how it worked, but okay.
Yeah, I don't think they. I don't think that. I think that gets retconned at a certain point. Oh, jeez.
Oh, good lord.
1963.
Yep, that's 1963.
His savage mind. Holy shit. That was a good line. I tolerate this century, but I don't enjoy it. But he's just as racist.
Yeah, this is a world where Gallifrey is just a thing, right? And
Yeah, it's out there.
it's out there, and
Which was the case in the Moffat era. They brought it back, but
then they never do anything with it.
then Chibnall had it destroyed again, I believe. The Master, like,
Wait, oh, really? So
yes,
Cribnall
They,
re-destroyed Gallifrey?
yeah, or he re-lost it. Like the Master either stole it or blew it up, if I'm remembering right. Which is why he's like, yeah, it's gone again. When 15 Doctor is talking about it.
Interesting.
Yeah. The last 5 months have been the happiest of her life. She really didn't want to travel around. That's really sad. No wonder she prefers the bombed out Dalek world. He is like they kind of mellow out the first Doctor, make him more of a lovable grandpa, but he's like very sinister in this first episode.
Yes, he is.
He's like laughing that they can't get out. He's like shocking them for fun.
Yeah, this dude's kind of a jerk.
Yeah. He does get good character development. They actually do kind of like over time, like in the like first 3 stories, he gets like a kind of called out on it, and comes out a nicer dude to these guys.
Is he the first Doctor? Like, is it canonical that he's never regenerated before?
It was until the Chibnall era. There is a Whittaker one, The Timeless Child, where they reveal that the Doctor is not a Time Lord. They're a completely different alien that the Time Lords captured and stole the power of regenerating from. And we see a montage that she's actually been like hundreds of people before the first Doctor. And fans really hated that. So I think they're just never gonna bring it up again.
Yeah, I can't imagine that anybody.
Yeah. Was into that.
For all of that, people don't like the Moffat era. I don't think he really adds anything crazy to the. Well, did he add anything really to the lore? I mean, he made it so that the river thing, but even the river thing is not like it's something new.
Yeah, that doesn't really mess with who the Doctor is.
Yeah.
The closest, I guess, is like that Listen episode, the Capaldi one, where we learned that like he was a little boy afraid in a bed. But even that's just like telling us that he was a kid once. You
Yeah.
know, it doesn't
Yeah.
really,
Right. Right.
yeah, doesn't like mess with too much. Yeah, because the traditional idea is like, yeah, this doctor is the first doctor, and you know he's like the only one that actually grew old. Um, and as we learn in the Doctor's Wife, as a younger guy, he saw the TARDIS and said, "You're the most beautiful thing I've ever seen."
Mm-hmm.
Decided to steal it, and yeah, I think that's perfectly fine. That's all I want to know. I don't
Yep.
need to know that they were an immortal, chosen one, timeless child that was the progenitor of all the Time Lords. Mm. Well, at least she
Fell in a
fell
chair.
into a chair. Oh,
That's the end of the episode, huh?
yeah. They're
Is
in
the next
caveman times
episode
now.
a? Oh, so this is a two. Yeah, we're right. This is a
Yep.
multiple episode thing. Well,
Yeah,
we
this is like
gotta
the
have to finish it. We gotta have to.
all
Um,
right. Well,
we'll have to
yeah,
get. We'll have to get.
you're on the hook enough. You're like, hey,
Yeah,
I want to know where this goes.
yeah.
Let's do
Interesting.
it. Let's
Fascinating.
pilot.
Fascinating
Yeah.
pilot. Not a bad pilot, just a fascinating
No,
pilot.
but it's kind of cool. Like I think it does a pretty good job of like, oh, what's the deal with this mysterious kid? And then the reveal of the TARDIS is still pretty awesome when they walk in and they're like, oh shit, it's ginormous.
Yeah. No,
So
I'm
much
in.
so they've done that scene every single time. You know.
Yeah. I was wondering if they're going to do the bigger on the inside because I've always been curious. Who does anybody actually say that in
I think
the?
s- I think officially in episode, yeah, people do say it's bigger on the, or at least in the Doctor's Wife when he defeats House, because remember House, the gooey green glowing thing, tries to take over the TARDIS,
Mm-hmm.
and Matt Smith goes like, "Haha, bigger on the inside, like you're the size of a planet, but in here you're just so small," which is an awesome line.
Yeah. Yeah, I was in
So yeah,
that's fun.
so they have at least said bigger on the inside one time, to my recollection.
Have you? Can you think of? I thought it was maybe a thing from old Doctor Who that was like a iconic thing that multiple companions had said, and that's why that's why it gets used so often. So I'm
I feel
curious
like
if that will.
it has to have been, yeah, like that was not the first time it was said. Here, I'm googling bigger on the inside in quotation marks. Okay, yeah, the third Doctor and the three Doctors. He says, "Well, Sergeant, aren't you going to say it's bigger on the inside than the outside? Everyone else does."
Yeah, see,
So
that's what I thought, but I don't know of anybody
yeah,
who's ever
well,
actually said it.
yeah. Well, I guess when we watch every single episode, which we're gonna do, we
Yeah,
gotta.
which we're definitely gonna do.
Yep.
It would maybe be, if we're keeping our ambition in check, it might be fun to do every Doctor's introduction episode. Um,
Yeah, I feel like we could do that way, like go through yeah, first episode highlights, maybe the regeneration, something like that. That
we
would be
could
kind
even
of
do
cool.
like a what's the we could do we could do the introduction episode, and then their like most iconic episode or most
Something
iconic
like
part.
that, yeah.
Yeah, there's options.
And if you want, and also like if you want to see the Cybermen, if you want to see, whatever, like part of the lore, you want to see how that doctor dealt with it or
Yeah,
whatever.
and you guys can tell us that. What's the Blink is the first Weeping Angel episode, right?
Yes, yeah, Stephen Moffat invented them for that one. And quickly, it's kind of amazing because they are now the big three alongside the Daleks and Cybermen.
Mm-hmm. You just
Because
can't. Like I again, not
that good.
to. I do agree with you that it shouldn't just be all Moffat all the time. But I think if you want to say the person who like gets Doctor Who the most, I think Moffat is above and beyond what we've seen so far. Not to say that somebody new couldn't go in and get it even more,
No,
but
I agree. I think he just gets how to do Doctor Who like at his core.
Yeah, I
Whereas,
think
yeah, I'm
so.
sorry to be mean to Russell T Davies, who I do like a lot, and unlike Tanner, I'm okay with Tennant, and I go back to him. But I think those
I don't
last
know
three,
what, like, even to this day, he doesn't seem like the Doctor to me. And I know that's really weird to say because, like, he is what a lot of people iconically think of as the
yeah,
Doctor, but, like, I mean, we've talked about
no
it
man,
before that I do think he's a little too pretty boy.
yeah,
Um,
you're preaching to the choir because I also I like Tennant, but he's never been my Doctor, and I think I do agree how I describe it. Not that he's a pretty boy, because he is to be sure a very pretty man, but for me it's more like I don't think he reads as alien as a Matt
yeah,
Smith or
that
even
that too.
Gatwa so far is actually really good at
At,
seeming
at
not
seeming
like
like
a
an
dude,
alien, right? Yeah,
like a
like,
regular dude 100%. And I think that's what I tend to like in my doctors, just
mm-hmm.
a little bit of the not human aspect. And I think David Tennant, yeah, is at times just a little bit too much of like a handsome leading man type.
Yeah, and he acts a little too human, I guess is the other way of saying that as well. Like I
Yeah.
could kind of see the idea of him being in Donna's backyard for the rest of his life.
Yeah, like he would
Like,
be if there was any doctor who would want to retire to a domestic life, it would probably be Tenet.
yeah,
You know.
yeah, exactly. And I think that is also an area. I mean, and also with him, I really don't like. Man, what's her name? Not
Rose,
Ruby,
you're not a
Rose,
Rose guy.
Rose. Yeah, I'm a big not a fan
That
of
always
Rose.
and Rose always bothered me too because he treated her differently than he's treated any other companion, and I don't really understand why because
Yep.
there's nothing particularly special about her, in my opinion.
Yeah, give me the Marion Antoinette episode any day.
Give me the what?
Give
Oh
it
yeah,
the
Marie Antoinette. See,
yeah.
that was when that was like when you suddenly became into Tenet. You were like, oh dang, if he like
Yep.
romanced Marie Antoinette and just no, not Marie Antoinette, friggin' sorry, Madame de Pompadour.
Yeah, it was Madame. Yep, Madame de
I'm
Pompadour.
confusing my French broads. Sorry. Yeah, you were
Hmm.
all about that episode and were like, she should just be the companion and they travel around.
Yep.
Would have been
Now
cool.
that's an episode I'd go back to if I was to go back to a Tennant episode or um
Written by Moffat. Speaking of,
yeah. See, there you go. Again,
you're on the clear
it's
place.
really it's really easy to tell. Like that dude just gets Doctor Who in a way like that I just can't get enough of.
Hmm.
Yeah,
But no, thoughts on this first episode? How did you feel about
I
the
I liked
it
it. It
all?
did feel too like I get why Doctor Who went to like a 40-minute format because it definitely felt too short, but clearly these are supposed to be like, you know, episodes
Oh yeah.
that storylines that go like several episodes and Doctor Who doesn't really do that as much anymore. So it's kind of fascinating that they just cut out the middleman, I guess, instead of doing two
Yeah.
20-minute episodes. They were just like, well, let's tell a full story and
I remember talking with a dude who was like, he was really into this idea that Doctor Who should return to this format, which I don't think I agree with, but I would be kind of interested if they ever did decide to just do like a 4-part episode in a season.
yeah, well, and I mean, are all of
I guess that
these
Flux thing that Jodie Whittaker did was kind of that, but that one had like each episode she did I think still go to a different location.
mhm. Yeah, I'm
So
looking at it now, and like all of these episodes are multiple.
yep,
Like this one's 5. Edge of Destruction's only 2, but Key of Marinus is
like 7, I think that's a long
7.
one.
Yeah, like it's kind of
On that one,
interesting.
they do actually have to like put together the parts of the key, so they do travel to a different, world in each one, which is cool.
Yeah, no,
Um,
I don't think I would
yeah,
agree with him exactly. I think that that's um, it's hard to say like, oh, we should go back to like, five episode parters, but like there is something kind of fascinating about it, and I wouldn't mind seeing like a longer Doctor Who episode, I guess. Maybe, yeah,
If you're sold, maybe next time we can just finish this story.
yeah.
Like finish their caveman
We
adventures.
could do that.
Now,
I do think we'll definitely. I do want to finish Unearthly Child, and then maybe we'll find what the best like first
yeah.
Doctor episode is and check it out, or like
We should follow it up with the next one, the Daleks, just because that's our, we're meeting the Daleks.
yeah, and that would be the
also,
most iconic villain he's
but also
probably
because
faced, right?
it's kind of funny. The behind the scenes of it was that this episode, like this premiere, had good ratings, but then the other ones kind of went downhill, like 2, 3, and 4.
Mm-hmm.
And the Daleks were kind of a like, oh shoot, people aren't actually interested in it just being historical. Like we need something to make it cook. And then the Daleks were introduced, and everyone went Dalek crazy in Britain in the 60s.
Which is so funny because they're probably my least favorite Doctor Who. Well, no,
Yeah, you really
I
got
mean,
that into the Daleks.
I hate the boogie. I hate that boogeyman too. So
Until last week with the boogeyman.
yeah, until the boogeyman episode.
The booger monster.
Man,
What is my least favorite Doctor Who monster? I don't know. I'd have to think on it. That's for another episode.
It's got to be the boogeyman. Name another. Even off the top of your head, name another monster that you rolled your eyes at.
People are kind of mean about the Absorbaloff, and I don't like him. But that guy in human form, at least that actor is kind of fun before he turns into a green farting.
Because then I was about to say the next one you would probably dislike are the farting aliens. Yeah.
Not a big Slovene guy. Yeah, probably one of them. One of the three. Either the fart monster or the booger monster.
Oh, remember the Minotaur that fed on? Was it fear or adoration? It was adoration, right? Religion.
It was like fear at first, and then we find out it's belief.
Yeah.
If I'm remembering right. That's a good episode. The crazy hotel with your,
I know Doctor Who. I'm telling you, it just cooks with fire when you get Moffat into it. I'm not against other showrunners, Chad. I promise. I just.
Oh, and then that episode was written by Toby Woodhouse. Was the Minotaur?
Get that dude to do it then. That dude should be the showrunner.
He's good. He did the vampire one with the
Vampires in Venice.
Vampires. Yeah, he wrote that one too.
That's probably the episode of Doctor Who I would show to people to get into Doctor Who.
That one's a lot of fun.
Would be Vampires of Venice, because I think you get like, it's fun. You get a really good sense of like, hey, this is what the Doctor's about. It's funny. It's like really funny.
One of the funniest, yeah. When Rory's pretending to be the gondola.
Well, I think Rory and Amy are kind of the perfect gateway, like, into Doctor Who as well. Like,
when she like, congratulates him on fighting the bad vampire, and he goes, "Oh, great! So I'm being reviewed now." Storylines.
Yeah. See, exactly. Oh, but yeah. You know what? Let's do let's finish Unearthly Child, and maybe even do.
Let's stick around in First Doctor Land for a little bit.
Yeah, we'll do it next week. Yeah.
I like this plan.
Yeah. We'll finish it. We'll finish at least Unearthly Child. That's another what, like 20.
Unearthly Child. I would pitch Unearthly Child, meet the Daleks for the first time, and then we can start doing more of a sample. Like a smorgasbord of Doctor Who classic.
Yeah, if we're talking. So my initial thoughts, I like Doctor Who quite a lot, and I think it really, it's just fun to watch. To watch the Mad Lad, to watch him do his thing. I kind of like this Doctor already, man. He's kind of like you said, he's kind of sinister and
he's kind of a little stinker. Like he's having fun. He shocks a dude for no reason just to mess with him.
Yeah, he reminds me of Capaldi, which makes sense why Capaldi and Filch had that episode because.
Yeah, like coming full circle in the last Capaldi ep, he's the Doctor he goes out with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they both have that kind of curmudgeonly, like, kind of pricks, but have, maybe a soft spot. We'll see how this Doctor develops his heart of gold.
All right. Well,
on that note,
we'll finish it here.
Unless we get blaspheme, we get accused of blasphemy by all the Tenet heads. They come out to attack us.
Just remember, if you want to watch the Boom that episode is out on YouTube as well. It's mostly me oohing and awing over Moffat, but I thought it was a pretty good. Commentary.
Yeah, I did too. I quite liked. I liked it enough that I synced it up with the episode to rewatch the episode.
Yep. All right. Well, you know what? If you want also as well, on the channel, we will probably one day do something in Battlestar Galactica land as well. So
we have to. The Battlestar Galactica is going to be a big conversation. We got to figure out something to watch, to let us nerd out about Battlestar Galactica.
Yep.
Yep. Maybe that Riddick movie with Katie Sackhoff.
Wait, Katie. Yeah. Yep.
Either way, we'll figure it out.
Isn't there there's a prequel, right? Where Adama, it's young Adama?
Yeah, Blood and Chrome, which was like a pilot movie that they never actually made into a series, which is young Adama during the first Cylon War.
We could do
which
that.
Was really good. I remember liking it, and then it just didn't turn into anything else.
I would say we could do Caprica, but I read that Wikipedia, and that was all I needed from that. Once I found out about fake Adama, I was like, thank goodness I never queued up.
Fake Adama, oh boy, Caprica is one of my biggest disappointments because I watched every episode of that show out of obligation, and did not come out feeling super positive. I gotta say.
All right,
that might be a good one, to be honest. We'll figure it out.
Caprica. Ooh, I don't. Well, how long is it? Is it what? Is it a one season
18 episodes, so it could be.
Oh, that's doable. Mm-hmm. I could finally rant about. I could finally rant about the TV thing.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that show gives you so much confusing evidence one way and the other for the TV thing.
I will do my TV rant here because then we're really outside of Doctor Who. But
hey, TV rant and then we're out.
yeah, TV. Oh, okay, I'll do it just because this has now become a Battlestar Galactica show as well.
Do a bonus episode. 2 minutes of you complaining about.
So in Battlestar Galactica, everybody listens to the radio, which yeah, we live on a fleet in space. There's they probably don't have access to cable TV, but here's my thing about that. Not at one point does anybody mention TV in that show. And I've rewatched it most of it. So unless there's a cut, there's somebody talking about it in season 1 or 2, I'm pretty sure I can say with accuracy nobody talks about TV. Nobody's like, oh man, I missed this movie, or oh, remember this movie star, or oh, do you remember this that show I really liked? And we know video exists in this universe because they take freaking gun camera pictures and video all the time. So
and Lucy Wallace makes the documentary in that one.
Yes, episode. And there's a documentary episode. But it's just nobody talks about TV. They talk about football. They talk pyramid. They talk about
pyramid. They miss pyramid.
Fishing. They talk about lawyering. They talk about this and that, but nobody ever talks about TV. And I've noticed in a recent episode, I think it was a camera, but it was also super small, so it could have just been a directional mic. But nobody talks about TV. It's really weird. There isn't ever.
You are going to learn in Caprica that Patton Oswalt is the host of a Jay Leno, Conan O'Brien talk show. So there is TV.
There's a TV in Balter's ship in Colonial 1. But then that TV disappears. It's not in Colonial 1 after they get off the planet. So
Rosalind is a Luddite. She doesn't believe in television.
Also, a weird thing about that TV is that it has the corners, which is also very disappointing to me. It looks exactly like a TV you would have bought from Best Buy in 2000 and whatever that show was.
So there is TV in the Battlestar Galactica universe, but it's not the LCD flat screens. It is still the boxy.
No, it was a flat screen. It was a flat screen with corners, which was very upsetting.
With corners,
yeah.
No, that's bad.
a flat screen.
It is
with
a high-end Best Buy TV. That's even more confusing to me.
But
We'll have
like
to dig into this.
again, it's so like they talk about their past lives and what they miss all the time. Nobody ever talked about TV. Like yeah, it's just nobody ever goes to watch it either. Like we literally see them. All they do is drink, play cards, and stare at an observation window. Sometimes.
Maybe it's a world where recording never existed.
Well, I also think it's a world where like
Every TV show is live. I don't know.
downtime. I think is also. I don't think downtime exists in the Battlestar Galactica universe.
Well, you
Not in
play
like
Triad and Pyramid.
yeah, but like that's it. Or you drink and play cards. Like those are your options for downtime.
You play Pyramid, you play Triad, or you drink. Because they do have a Pyramid, and I guess you box, like in that one episode.
Yeah, you box, you
Or jump
pyramid.
rope, like Lee Adama when he's got to take off the pounds. Um,
But yeah.
but they do have a pyramid thing because I remember.
Well, I vaguely remember this, but isn't there evidence? And this blows my TV theory out of the water. But doesn't Anders have a TV interview on like the last episode where he's talking about how pyramid is like
talking about wanting the perfect throw or whatever.
yeah, and it's all mathematics and stuff, and we find out he's the secret math nerd.
Yeah, because he was a scientist when he was a Cylon. So yeah, that's kind of like, oh, even though he's been rewritten to think he's an athlete, he still has the math brain deep down.
So, and that was an interview, right? He was being like interviewed for some kind of sports thing.
But I forget if that was just like on a tape recorder, like with the mic, or if it was TV cameras. We'll have to wait till you get to the end.
Yeah, I have to. But so that leads to my theory that I think in universe, TV is only used to convey information. Like they haven't figured. Like obviously they have fiction.
Yeah. Film and TV don't exist as an art form.
Yeah, film and TV in the Battlestar Galactica universe potentially doesn't exist as an art form. It's merely a tool to convey information or to historically document stuff, which in and of itself would be fascinating. I would kind of wish,
because they do have opera and stuff. There's famous.
Well, they have books. Yeah, they have a book. They have books as well and stuff. So media for creative purposes for art exists. But
Dama loans Rosalind or gives Rosalind his like dog-eared copy of Twilight, if I'm remembering right.
Yeah. Oh, he. It's funny. He leaves the fleet temporarily. Doesn't become an admiral, so he could wait for Rosalind. And all he brings is a little duffel bag full of clothes and one book. And I'm just like, dude, you need a lot more entertainment factor if you're gonna go sit in a Raptor for like 3 days and just
a deck of Triad cards, perhaps.
It's so funny and I guess everything square in that universe doesn't have the edges cut off, but like I really was sad when I just saw the Best Buy TV and it not having corners cut off. I was like,
it bummed you out.
But all right, that's the theory. I do think
post that as a separate episode. I feel edit it out into its own.
Oh, just as the highlight reel of me talking about how Battlestar Galactica didn't invent TV as an art form.
Anyway, if you're into Doctor Who but also into Battlestar Galactica, stick around.
Battlestar Galactica it will be talked about at some point. It's just figuring out what form of media to talk to about it.
We're gonna talk what Battlestar Galactica related thing.
Because we could go episode by episode or season by season even, and we could probably find enough to talk about, but that would be quite an endeavor. But anyways,
on that note, everybody, see you next week for more Doc Who.
Yeah, I think we'll do it next week. See you next. We'll finish it up, and it'll be up on the same week.
Signing off.
All right.